In the closing decades of the 19th century, as the American empire rose from the ashes of the Civil War, one family clawed its way from the modest streets of Philadelphia to unimaginable wealth, and in doing so planted the seeds of darkness that would stretch across generations and ultimately leave a million-dollar legacy, abandoned to slow decay. Peter Errol Brown Widener, born in 1834 on a small farm in Lower Makefield, Pennsylvania, grew up steeped in the harsh labor and frugal values of Pennsylvania Dutch heritage, inheriting not only an agrarian past, but a razor-sharp instinct for business that would turn humble steamships into instruments of destiny. When the Civil War erupted in 1861, the 27-year-old Widener did not take up arms. Instead, he plunged into the chaos of wartime demand, supplying beef and provisions to the Union Army, a choice that brought staggering profits and burned into his soul the lesson that opportunity thrives amid ruin, as his wagons filled the void between battlefield and home front, transforming his first dollars into the foundation of an empire. Yet behind those colossal numbers lay stories of exploited labor, of Italian and Irish immigrants who sweated on railroad tracks to build the lines Widener would one day control. And his silence in the face of such injustice raised the first quiet questions about the price of prosperity, as his family moved from modest row houses to lavish mansions on Rittenhouse Square, where the laughter of high society drowned out the whispers of souls left behind. In 1883, together with partners William H. Elkins and Alexander Cassatt, Widener acquired the Philadelphia and Reading Railroad, an acquisition that cemented his status as a railroad titan and ushered in an era of ruthless consolidation, where thousands of workers were dismissed to maximize profit, and the bloody strikes of 1877 still haunted collective memory, reminding the world that the Widener Empire was built on the bones of endless labor struggle, culminating in a fortune estimated at $100 million by the early 20th century, billions in today's terms, yet also a moral burden he carried to his grave. It was against this backdrop that Widener began dreaming of Lynnewood Hall, not merely as a home, but as a monument, an architectural fortress to proclaim his triumph. And when he commissioned the young Horace Trumbauer in 1897, the first drawings sketched a Beaux-Arts masterpiece inspired by Versailles itself, with corridors that stretched like rivers and gardens that swallowed the horizon. Each granite block a testament to ambition that sought to conquer both space and time, yet also hinting at the loneliness of a man who had traded family intimacy for the relentless rhythm of trains. Construction began in 1898 on more than 110 acres in Elkins Park. The original $5 million budget quickly ballooned, reflecting not only extravagance but absolute control over resources, as hundreds of European craftsmen were summoned to carve exquisite details. From murals by Paul Baudry to a private art collection worth millions featuring Rembrandt and El Greco, turning Lynnewood Hall into a living museum rather than a mere residence, through which Widener hoped to etch his name into eternity. Yet those very walls began murmuring of personal loss when his son Joseph died of kidney disease in 1907, a blow that aged the patriarch overnight and transformed the mansion into a mausoleum for unfinished dreams. When Peter Widener died in 1915 at the age of 80, leaving a fortune distributed among family members and charitable causes, Lynnewood Hall became not only a physical inheritance, but an emotional weight, a place where endless corridors now echoed with the solitary footsteps of his heir, Joseph E. Widener, older brother of the deceased son, thrust by fate into leading an empire he had never sought, burdened with railroads, telegraphs, and stock investments his father had left like a bittersweet curse. Born in 1872, Joseph had spent his youth in his father's shadow, absorbing lessons over late-night dinners and business trips. Yet when he assumed control, he did not merely maintain. he expanded, pouring passion into horse racing and art collecting, transforming Lynnewood Hall into the epicenter of Philadelphia's elite, where lavish parties featuring symphony orchestras and French cuisine drew figures like Andrew Carnegie and J.P. Morgan, their presence reinforcing Widener's place as a pillar of the Gilded Age. Yet behind the crystal chandeliers lay hairline fractures in the family structure, as Joseph's 1898 marriage to Elsie Moore produced two children, Joan and Peter, but also bred distance, with Elsie gradually withdrawing from the high society whirl her husband embraced with ferocious energy. The 1920s marked Lynnewood Hall's zenith as an emblem of American opulence. 110 rooms including a private chapel, a library of 10,000 rare volumes, and grounds that housed exotic animals Joseph adored. Yet that very splendor masked the first signs of decline, as the crash of 1929 delivered a devastating blow to the family's railroad investments, forcing Joseph to sell portions of the art collection piece by piece, a decision that eroded not only wealth but the soul of the house, turning once vibrant walls into cold voids reflecting a man watching the American dream fracture. Meanwhile, grandson Peter A.B. Widener VI attempted to preserve fragments of the legacy through philanthropy, but frail health and personal choices distanced him from Lynnewood, leaving Joseph alone to shoulder the burden. And when he died of heart failure in 1943, the mansion ceased to be a fortress and became a colossal financial liability, with annual upkeep costs soaring into hundreds of thousands amid the disruptions of World War II, prompting the family in 1952 to donate the estate to the Episcopal Church as a religious center, a humanitarian gesture to avoid demolition that, nevertheless, marked the beginning of true decay, as the first clergy who crossed its thresholds with hopes of prayer soon discovered that scale and operating costs far exceeded capacity, raising profound questions about the nature of inheritance. Gift or curse passed to the next generation. The 1950s and 1960s saw the church attempt adaptation, summer camps, conferences, but children's laughter only briefly filled the void, while industrial acid rain from Philadelphia's skies began eating away at gilded surfaces, and once lush gardens surrendered to weeds, mirroring America's shift from Golden Age to modern struggle, where mansions like Lynnewood became relics of a bygone era. As the 1970s unfolded amid growing heritage preservation movements, the Episcopal Church realized that maintaining Lynnewood Hall was not merely a financial burden, but a war against time and societal indifference, as heating hundreds of yards of corridors through Pennsylvania winters became an unsustainable debt, leading to heartbreaking decisions: dismantling wings, auctioning furnishings, priceless Louis XV tables, and Renaissance canvases scattered to the winds, reducing the house to a hollow shell visited only by rare guests who came to behold faded grandeur. By 1980, with shrinking congregations and pressure from developers, the church sold Lynnewood Hall to private investors for a symbolic $250,000, a mocking figure compared to the $20 million it represented upon completion in 1902. And the new owners, dreaming of conference centers or private schools, quickly stumbled against the brutal reality of restoration, as shattered skylights and obsolete wiring demanded millions they did not possess, abandoning the estate through the 1990s as weeds choked marble paths and angels in stone grew veiled in grime, turning it into a symbol of waste in an America grappling with widening inequality. Preservation efforts by groups like the Friends of Lynnewood Hall, founded in 2005, sought attention through fundraisers and limited tours, yet faced insurmountable legal and financial barriers as the current corporate owner repeatedly rejected buyout offers, prioritizing profit over legacy, making Lynnewood Hall a cautionary tale about history's fragility. How the very resilience and vision Widener once pursued were now tested by the apathy of later generations, with historians like Robert J. Idler detailing in works such as Widener's Legacy how the mansion fell victim to suburban sprawl as modern neighborhoods swallowed its once private paradise. By the early 21st century, it appeared on the National Trust for Historic Preservation's endangered list, a designation recognizing not only its flawless neoclassical architecture and scale surpassing even Biltmore, but also the urgent need for action, yet proposals to convert it into a museum or educational center repeatedly stalled, reflecting broader conflicts between preservation and development as Elkins Park land values soared into the millions per acre, turning the estate into potential real estate rather than living history. Urban explorers began slipping through broken fences in the 2010s, capturing haunting photographs of dust-covered ballrooms and spiral staircases leading nowhere, sharing them online to spark public interest. Yet those very images accelerated decay through uncontrolled intrusion and vandalism, creating a tragic loop where attention only deepened the wound. In this context, the Widener legacy is not merely about lost wealth, but about unlearned lessons. How a family that shaped Philadelphia through gifts like the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts, where their collection still lives, also left a void at Lynnewood, where silent walls bear witness to the rise and fall of the American dream. Today, in 2025, as the world confronts climate crises and deepening inequality, Lynnewood Hall stands like a ghost on the edge of Philadelphia, a quiet reminder of the consequences of unchecked ambition and the absence of long-term vision, as the latest preservationist proposals urge federal intervention to transform it into a national historic park. Yet financial and political hurdles continue to delay, leaving the mansion suspended between existence and obliteration. Winter rains seeping through perforated roofs while murals fade beneath layers of mold. The Widener story, from Peter Sr.'s bold business gambits to Joseph's desperate attempts to hold everything together, is not merely the history of a mansion, but a family tragedy carved in marble and steel, where wealth brought isolation rather than connection, and $1 million legacy now rusts beneath the dust of time, inviting us to reflect on the current generation's responsibility to the past. Will we repeat the mistake of abandonment, or will we revive these symbols as living lessons in human resilience? Through the lens of history, Lynnewood Hall is not a failure, but a whisper of greatness's fragility. Gardens that once bloomed with hundreds of rose varieties now shelter wildlife. Royal bedrooms harbor untold secrets, reminding us that behind every forsaken legacy lie stories of loss and hope, of a family that touched the summit only to watch it crumble, yet also left seeds of generosity through endowments that endure, such as Widener University, where their educational spirit continues to nurture thousands. To step inside Lynnewood Hall today, even if only in imagination or through rare virtual tours, is to confront the stark contrast between architecture's immortal beauty and the pain of oblivion. A silent call to action that history is not something to be left behind, but embraced. And while the mansion's future remains uncertain, it continues to tell the Widener story, not as distant tycoons of excess, but as ordinary humans with colossal dreams, profound losses, and a legacy ultimately defined not by wealth, but by the lessons it leaves for us who stand on their shoulders, deciding whether the darkness will spread further or finally yield to the light of revival.